Welcome to Be You Bloom's podcast. I'm Jessica Morales-Myers, your mind strategist and the creator of Be You Bloom, helping you build happier brains. So today I want to share with you something that just literally and symbolically happened. It was a profound dream. And some of you know that in my sessions, I'm a hypnotherapist and I use lots of different modalities depending on the presenting issue. And dream therapy is one of my favorites as well as my clients. And there's so much that we can do to gain insights into what is really going on. It's very important not to use these general dream books to analyze your own dreams. Now, they're fun. I even have one here. Someone gave it to me as a gift many years ago, probably nearly 2 decades at this point. But you are so unique, beautiful soul. Your dreams are a fingerprint of your specific life, your history, the data that you took in those days, that week, those hours, whatever it is that you bring into your sleep, your past history of associations, right? So this is so specific to your pains, even your voids, that it is impossible to have one definition, one symbol relate to everyone, every single person in the population. So knowing that, I'd like to encourage you to begin analyzing your own dreams. And I'm going to give you some technique here as to how to do that. So this isn't a dream therapy per se, because if I were working with you directly, we would be doing things ahead of time so that you can bring those things into your sleep that you desire, and so that your brain can fully integrate it, because it goes through overnight sleep therapy, and wake up feeling refreshed, renewed, repurposed in what it is that you want to achieve regarding your personal or career goals. This that we're doing here is about analyzing the dream after the fact, once it just happened. So a couple of tips. I want you to always go to sleep with a blank piece of paper by your bed and some marker or pen, just something that you can write with immediately that you do not have to go searching for. The moment you open your eyes and you start taking in data from around the, just in your environment, anything sensorially on the external is going to taint the dream, because you're already taking input, right? The moment you open your eyes. So have that piece of paper. I like having unlined paper if possible, not a deal breaker, because I want you to just frantically, literally write down everything you can remember without any disruption. If you're married or you have kids, try your best to ask these people not to talk to you just yet. Mommy's or daddy's writing something down that's really important. Or if the phone rings or you have notifications on your phone, do not open those up. That just happened to me. I have a bunch of notifications and I did not intentionally look at them, because I don't want to taint or put time from me, my conscious awareness, from my dream state. You have to write it down as close to possible as when it was happening. Okay? So that's very, very important. Otherwise, you're not going to get the right information that's being downloaded through your dreams. So you create 2 columns. One, title it literal. The second column, symbolic. So literal and symbolic. And you can first start off, flip the paper, and just write out the dream, every single detail and what time it happened. Now, my dream just took place. It happened in the early morning waking hours, which I happen to know that is called the venting state during the sleep cycle. And obviously my brain is trying to vent out something that I've been wrestling with internally. And I'm going to share that with you. Maybe many of you can relate. So I first and foremost identified the time to know what was happening. And then I started to write down the story of everything that happened in my dream, every single detail. I don't care if you think it's unimportant, put it down and close your eyes. I closed my eyes and I started walking myself through it. What did I see? What did I hear, smell? What did it sound like? And very, very important, do not forget this. Write down how you felt through each part where it stood out. Something happened that stood out to you that, for some reason affected you. How did I feel? Because the feeling is key. I'm going to show you why. Once you do all of that, then go back to your literal and symbolic column. And in my dream, so I'm going to tell you what it was now. So I dreamt that I was back in my mom's apartment in New York City, in downtown New York, where I lived with mom. And she wasn't there in the apartment. And an ex-boyfriend of mine, who is a dear friend, my first boyfriend, when I was only 16, till this day, he's like family to me. And he's always symbolized for me and my family a protector and a person that I feel at home with anytime I'm around him, because he's known me for so many years and knows all of my family. I feel very protected, very at home. We have a history that was present. I don't feel alone. I feel very much accepted for who I am. So he was present. An older Caucasian gentleman, tall man, appeared to be living in my room, came out of nowhere, felt like a stranger, and I don't know how he got there. And I felt very uncomfortable and nervous about what was going on because I couldn't find my mother. And something that stood out is that I made it very clear that if he did any kind of funny business, that Marvin was there and would knock him out. And Marvin gave him a look, and the guy knew. And there was a phone, and the phone was one of those connected to the jacks, because that's how we had it growing up. And it was actually one of the phones we had in the house, and it wasn't working. And this man picks it up, and I think it's working fine, and he's saying it's not. And I'm trying to remember the phone call I had with my mom prior as to where she was going and what she was going to do, but I just can't remember the details, and it was horrible. I felt bad. And he picks it up, and he says that he has this small metal pin, not like a thin pin. It's sort of like a hammering pin, something like a nail size, and he forces it into the side and creates a hole in the phone that wasn't there. But it goes in, and you can see the pin exposed on the other side, and all of a sudden, voila, he's saying that this works now. So I'm frantically searching, feeling pain in my heart, heartbroken, trying to figure out where my mom is. Then 2 people arrive. I turn, and it's exactly the doorway where I grew up. Down the hallway, I look towards the doorway, and I think I see my mother. My vision is blurred, and I run towards her. I'm about to grab her, and I see instead my nephew to the left side of this woman. I think that's his girlfriend, actually. And I just collapse in his arms and start sobbing, because obviously what I thought I saw was not real. And all of a sudden, I turn around, and there is my mom. She's a little far removed, back in her own room, but she appears almost like facing more peripheral, just kind of like I could see her, but it's like a movie image. She's not floating, but almost like gliding, but walking from right to left as I'm watching her. And there's a being behind her. He didn't feel like a solid, human person, but a being behind her. And he has a color skin that is more like Dominican, more like Afro-Latino. And we're Puerto Rican, so a mix. And he was behind her. And she was carrying in her hands tulips, and they were standing straight up, beautiful, like a bunch of tulips. And then I don't remember, as much as I tried to remember what happened after that. I think I just woke up. So I was immediately awed by this dream, because I felt pain in my heart, and I didn't want to carry that throughout the rest of today. So I'm a big proponent of claiming your day before you start it, especially when something so emotional has happened in your dream state or early in your early morning waking hours, because you're highly suggestible to be more, carry that, get hurt by others or negativity by others and bring that into your space. So we need to clear that out. Okay, so I get my white piece of paper. I have my marker. It's a thin Sharpie that I like to write because it helps me just like flow. I don't want my ego to edit any of my thoughts, so I want to flow it out, like flow out the data. So what is literal? What is really true? This is what you're going to do with your dream. What is real? What actually has happened? Yes, I lived in an apartment in New York City with my mommy. I wrote that down literally because I call my mom mommy. So I lived in an apartment with my mommy in New York City. I had my own room there. Marvin is representative and has literally showed up for us and been a protector in our lives and mine. And I wrote down my feelings around that. I feel safe. I feel I'm not alone. And I know that there is unconditional love, that this person just wants me to be a happy person with no transaction needed, no me not having to give him anything. And I call that the maternal love, the parental love, because it is unconditional. And I feel that from my mom, and I feel that from Marvin. So there you go, that's his name. And so on the symbolic side, I had so much more, because I've never had an older, tall, white man appear in my room and be a stranger that showed up out of nowhere. That is symbolism. I did not have a phone that appeared to be fine but was broken, that had that this man put a nail through to make it work. That was symbolism. Me not being able to find my mom in my own house, that's symbolic. And seeing my nephew arrive with his girlfriend, that never has happened before, that's symbolic. But I know that my nephew, that particular nephew, who I knew, I have many nephews who I instinctively knew it was him, is a symbol of the same thing, of protection, loves me a lot. We have a very special relationship, and he appeared. And my mom arriving with white tulips in her hands and a prominent figure standing behind her, that has not happened literally. That is symbolism. So I then go back and I start circling words, the home, what I was feeling. I don't know how this person got into my own personal space. That's my room. That's my personal space. That must mean something. The phone, I thought the communication was working, that I could remember the conversation, but the phone obviously is not working. So the platform that I'm using or how I'm communicating is not working, and vice versa. How I'm receiving that communication is not working. That means something, right? Marvin and even my mom and my nephew, all representing this unconditional love and protection, where I feel the safest, where I can be authentically me, were present. That's what I felt, that feeling. But what I was wrestling when I was looking for mom in the house was feeling heartbroken, frantic, even guilt over why I didn't know where she was. And I felt hopeful the moment I saw my nephew. Well, I thought it was my mom with him. I felt, remember, you're writing your feeling words, excited. I felt relieved. I felt hopeful. But once I got close, it was a facade. It wasn't her. That is key. That is key. And when I didn't feel safe, where did I collapse into? My nephew's arms, who was right there. The white flowers in my mom's hands were standing up fiercely straight. Now, this is one that, okay, if you want to look up what those tulips mean, I did. First, you write down what it means to you. What could it have meant by you seeing that? What did it make you feel? And I knew that I felt peace looking at those flowers. And tulips actually represent purity of heart, trust, worthy and value, a feeling of worthy and value. You give tulips to those that you want them to feel worthy and valued. And when the flowers stand straight up, and this is when I know this because of my brand being called Be You Bloom. if you go back to my original website, Mesprout, MESPROUT.com, I still have it there because the origins of how this name came to me was from divine download. It was incredible. And I remember saying that we need to nurture our own gardens before we can seed others' gardens, before we can help others in their gardens. And so when we are in full bloom, and I mentioned this throughout my social media, that we are at we are in our ideal growth sprout, we are in our ideal color, vibrancy, state, beauty. That is when you are in full bloom. And when flowers stand up straight like that, they are in full bloom and they are pointed towards the sun. And the sun is a life giver. It is an energizer for us, for our soul, for our spirit. And people with energizing qualities are very much compared metaphorically to the sun because they walk in and they give so much. And I've been told by many of people, strangers alike, that I am an energizing person. And so I bawled when I was writing those words down. So what does this all mean? So now then you look at what has happened during this week. You want to be your own therapy session. You're going to reflect, self-reflect, okay? And you're going to ask yourself, what's been taking up mental inventory this week or in the past days that maybe I wasn't even conscious about, but now I'm going to highlight. So bring it to conscious awareness. And when I realized that, I said, whoa, I have been even verbalizing to my husband and even struggling internally with some, probably like just really one or two relationships and, in terms of friendships. And it has been something that has always been a challenge because I am so fiercely loyal in a friendship. And so when that loyalty is no longer there, or there's sort of a shift in behavior with that, I can feel unsafe and I will exit because I'm very verbal of the type of friend that I can be for someone when we're going to, I take it to that point of like, this is another person's heart that I have in my hand and I need to nurture and seed it. Even like a dating relationship, you need to show up and you need to be there, not just for the glory, but for the person's entire story and walk alongside them. And that's how I look at it. And so even if we're new friends and somebody says something to me about you, I'm a fiercely protective person. But even if we go through something, I always say, just let's not quit on each other. But if we're going through something and I haven't heard from you and you have disappeared, I can certainly say that probably is one of those things for me that says, okay, I'm out, because we communicated that we would never do that. Right? So that's me being purely honest, authentic, and vulnerable. I always say I'm like the mafia. I will protect you in front of everybody, even if behind closed doors we are in disagreement. I got you, boo. But I need you to have me too. Okay, so I know that was happening recently where I felt a shift in something where I thought I was in a trusting new relationship, friendship, and I felt sort of a shift, and I wanted to show up with an expression, a gift kind of thing, and it sort of got shut down, and I was really hurt by that. So you have to know that you will bring some of that into your dream because you were thinking about that stuff in the day before, or that same day, or the hours before sleep. So you do bring those things into your sleep. So now you have to ask yourself, does that fit in with this, or is that just something I brought in that doesn't have anything to do with this? Okay. In this situation, it does, because obviously it's about, the dream is about me being in relationship and around those I feel safe with and protected, and I haven't been feeling that. There's also been that feeling with, how should I say this, certain colleagues, and that feeling isn't there. And when that feeling isn't there, of course, that's going to show up in my dream. And so this tall, older Caucasian man was a symbol representation of certain men and women in terms of a colleague situation where I don't feel that I have that relationship. So that is coming into play, right? And that makes sense. And the being that's behind my mom is somebody I identify with, right? Somebody who's Afro-Latino. And funny enough, because I identify with everybody, I just don't, that's just how I've always been. And even if I'm the first person in the room, that's the Latina person in the room, I'm excited to be there and bring something new, right? And that's been my history. Often I have been the first. So, but that was interesting. And I said, why is that coming up? Because usually I don't even look at that. And I knew that was some symbolism of, but it's your people for you to feel safe. And you're not needing for the other person to be your culture. You're needing for the other person to have a similar heart intention to, like you want to do for them, provide a loyalty, provide a genuine friendship, and provide a place that's a safe space. And you're not feeling that from that side. So of course, this is showing up in the dream. The being hopeful and feeling excited when I saw my nephew's girlfriend. That happens. I have said that verbally to my husband, how excited I get with whether it's a new opportunity or new possible friendship or new this or new that. I always say I'm like a little girl, and I go back to clean slate and I get excited that this is it. This is going to be possible, whatever it is that's coming up. And I will never let that go, because even as an actor, when I was acting, you always have to know that next new thing could be the new amazing best friend or the new amazing opportunity. And I will never lose that childlike adventure sense that I have. But when it doesn't work out, of course, it could be such a painful event. And I think that's why I ended up sobbing, because those things that I had hoped were going in a certain direction feel like a disappointment. And my heart was broken. I've used that word, like this situation with this colleague, I'm actually more heartbroken because I care about the person so much. I love that person. And I've expressed that too to my husband. So it has, obviously it's manifesting here in my dream. So the tulips, let's talk about the hope and the optimism side. And I want you to always find that. Always find the upside, even in the dark side. And when my mom showed up, obviously my mom showed up in spirit. And I feel her energetically, spiritually, so profoundly when I'm going through difficult times. And the number 333 appears, the divine Trinity. And friends of mine have seen that, and they're always like, oh, wow. And so I used to give my mom tulips. That was her favorite flower. So I know that makes that you will get messages through your dreams from up above, from heaven. Receive those messages. Those are signs of purity and love, unconditional divine love that is being poured over you during this emotionally challenging time. And to have them standing up straight like that. Sometimes in the dip, you have to allow yourself that time so you can get that nourishing, nurture your garden, allow the water, the rain, the tears to just seed that garden and nourish those seeds so that you will sprout again and you will blossom and you will be in full bloom. And that's what Be You Bloom is about. So to see that in the dream was like, wow. Pointed towards the sun, and you, Jessica, are an energizer. And no matter what is happening in this difficult time, or you've been disappointed, I also had thought about my father this past week, and I remember it's just hitting me now. Oh my God, you see, you have to talk and vent it out. I remember thinking 3 days ago about my father, because I found him again. I'm always the one like trying to find him. After a few years, I go try to find him. And we had some really great conversations, and he had said he would be there and be present. And I was about to go visit, and I asked, would we have time alone? I just wanted to take him to dinner. I don't need anything. I just wanted to take him to dinner and know who he is, and for him to know who I am as a father and a daughter. And he declined that. He did not want to go where it would just be us, and it felt like such a rejection. So I am very aware. You need to be aware of these things. I mean, he departed when my mom was pregnant with me, right? So coming into this world with a sense of rejection, my mom having such depression from it, I came into this world with those feelings. So I need to know and be aware that those are triggers that can come up in adulthood, whether it's somebody talking to you a certain way that triggers that feeling of rejection or neglect, right? Not nurturing the relationship. But be mindful of those that are in your life spiritually and physically, like my nephew, like Marvin, like my mom. Who are those people in your life? And I'm very well aware, I've been, that there's this force of positive angels all around me. People who don't know me will come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I don't know you, but do you know that you have this around you? So you might not be aware, but you have so much love enveloping you, my love. You have so much. If you would just open up to the possibility, just open up your heart center, your most powerfully emitting organ, to start exploring that, and know that God's got you covered at all times. And there's a direction in your life, as there is in mine with Be You Bloom, and what I do through this platform of Be You Bloom, whether it's here on Instagram or YouTube or events or speaking. There's always this common thread, and that is to help people recognize that they need to seed and nourish their own garden and strengthen from within. And when they're able to do that, they will get back up again and they will sprout, blossom, and bloom. And so I hope that helps you understand how to start analyzing your own dreams. And obviously this is in the early morning waking hours. So my brain is like, girl, we are ready to let that go. That feeling of feeling rejection or neglect from people, because when you rely on that, you will always be disappointed. And I know that cognitively, but we're also human beings, right? So when we're asleep, we're disarmed. Our consciousness is not even enacted, right? Or enabled or activated. So obviously there's something in the subconscious that's still struggling with that. And the brain is like, we are so ready to vent this out, because you know that your resource, your renewal, your strongest relationships are above. You plug in above to get that data, to get that connection, to get that fulfillment as a whole. And everything else, in terms of relationships with others, that's bonus when it happens. But where you rely, what your core is above you. So look up, because that's where it is. And I'm so glad I'm reminded of that, because in the work that I do, it's so important. And I'm just really, really feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Oh, one last thing I need to share with you. This is so crazy. So the tulip also, let me flip my page here. The tulip also represents the words, showing a person how much you love them. And I know I received that, Mommy. Thank you, Mommy. But I had just spoke for a women's group, the Girls Powerhouse Network on Facebook. Oh my God, fabulous group. And Tiffany, a dear friend of mine, runs that group and asked me yesterday, she was like, I know this is last minute, but I just saw your video on Ho'oponopono prayer and EFT tapping and tapping that prayer into your nervous system. And I loved what you did, and it helped me. Will you do this for my group tonight? We meet Tuesdays at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. I'm like, absolutely. I will move my other meeting with my family. We do weekly meetings because we're optimizing our mind and our health and our food nutrition together. So I also do that group with my family. So I will move that. They will understand, and I will speak with the ladies of your group. And I taught them Ho'oponopono, which is a prayer that says, please forgive me. I am sorry. I love you. Thank you. Or you can say, please forgive me. I am sorry. I love you. I am grateful. What's so crazy is, guess what the tulip represents when it's in white, which is what showed up. Thank you. I am sorry. I am sorry. Thank you. And so I can use that prayer because it's the number one thing about it is for you to take personal ownership and responsibility of what your part is in contributing to this feelings to what's going on around you. Even it could be workplace relationships or a situation with a sibling, but we all have a part, and energetically we are all connected. Doesn't matter if the person is on the other side of the world, a stranger, and they're struggling. All of our energies are interconnected to create the world that we are in, good and bad. So you take ownership of what my part is in this and pray and say, please forgive me. I am sorry. I love you. I am grateful. And so I can use that now as a second part of my own self-therapy, which you can do too, with this dream in mind, what you got in terms of revelations, and think about that. Pray to God, say that chant, that Hawaiian prayer. If you want to know where it came from, it is a powerful story. It is on my YouTube at BU Bloom and on my Instagram at BU Bloom, BEYOU Bloom. And let me know how that goes for you. Thank you so much for joining me and for sharing in my vulnerability. I'd love to hear your story. Please reach out to me at bubloom.com. Have a beautiful day. And make sure before you go to sleep, make a request to your subconscious mind and it will deliver you some answers. God bless you.